Hi, this is Steve Welty. I'm the broker owner of Good Life Property Management, where we manage single family homes, condos, and apartment buildings throughout the greater San Diego area. And today's question is, what happens if a tenant destroys my property? It's a common question we get, especially first time landlords who haven't been through this before. Everyone's got the worst case scenario in their mind, and what happens if that actually comes true? So, two questions I would ask first is, it depends. What's the severity of the damage? So, destroy to you may be different than destroy to me. So, the answer to what you want to do is going to depend on the level of damage, the severity, and two is whether the tenant still lives there or not. So let's take the scenario where the tenant still lives there. That's the ideal scenario because you still have some leverage in that case. So let's say you do a routine inspection. You should be doing them at least yearly. And let's say you notice the carpet's been destroyed by the pet. You can then tell the tenant, per the lease agreement, you need to pay for any damage above normal wear and tear. We actually have a clause in our lease that's called tenant liability, and it basically says, I'm reading it, tenant shall be charged for all repairs or replacement caused by tenant, pets, guests, or licensees of tenants, excluding ordinary wear and tear. And most leases should have something to that effect. So you can point to that and say, I'm going to need to replace this carpet, and I'm going to get a bid, and it costs this much, and they should pay for it up front to get it replaced. Or you may want to, if you think the tenant's going to, in this case, the pet would just destroy it again, put that in a reserve to be replaced when the tenant eventually moves out. And if you ever need to use the tenant security deposit to repair anything, most leases should have a clause that says that the tenant needs to reimburse any used portion of the deposit during the tenancy. So that's one way to handle any damage that the tenant does while the tenant still lives there. Now let's say you go to the property after the tenant's moved out and there's just a ton of damage. So number one, you're going to want to use the tenant security deposit, which you can use for any damage above normal wear and tear, as well as any cleaning. And the first thing you want to do is send them an itemized report with the photos, the proof, and ask for the balance due. Now let's say they don't pay the balance due. Then you want to contact the tenant's renter's insurance and see if the tenant's policy may cover some of the damage. I've had cases where the tenant damaged the very, very expensive wood flooring, and that was actually covered by the tenant's insurance policy. Now, it's not going to always happen that way, but that's where I would go next, the tenant's liability insurance. Third, I would contact my insurance. If it's bad enough and I have, a low deductible and it's several $1,000s and it makes sense to file a claim, then I would talk to my insurance company. Now, if it's seen as accidental damage, it may be covered. But if it's seen as like the tenant was negligent or the tenant did it on purpose, then it probably is not going to be covered. So if you exhaust all those options, I would try to settle with the tenant to pay something, even if it's not the full balance due, whatever you're comfortable with. But if you can't get them to pay anything, then step forward would be to sue them in small claims court. Now in California, you can sue up to $10,000. So I would go that route. Bring your evidence, bring your lease, bring your move-in, move-out photos, and hopefully you can win the case there. But even if you get a judgment, it's not always easy to collect, especially if the tenant doesn't have good credit and is not collectible, what we call. So if you get a judgment, you want to hire an attorney to have them go after the tenant for the money. It's very complex to get money from a tenant, even when you have a judgment. So it's best to, if you've gone that far, to hire an attorney to try to get that money. And if you're not going to do that, then at least hire a collection company that will work on some sort of contingency compensation structure where they'll take maybe half of the whatever they're able to collect. So I hope this gave you some insight on options you have when a tenant damages or destroys your property. And if we can help you with anything, please let us know and make it a great day.